Okay, I'm just changing the bearings in this headset. There's a way you can save money. Instead of replacing the whole headset, just replace the bearings. Just make sure you don't damage the rest of the headset or lose any of the pieces in the process. So this is, headsets that use these radial type bearings. They're a standard jelly bean part. The way to find out what bearings you need is there is a number on the side of this seal. You simply type that number into eBay or anywhere like that, then proper, preferably not eBay. There's bearings on there, obviously can be a bit crap. But if it goes to any bearing place, give them that number, and they should just be able to give you a replacement bearing. Make sure it's like a brand name like SKF or something like that. And yeah, you'll be all set to go. You could even get ceramic ones if you want. From actual bearing companies, ceramic bearings are not that expensive. Not compared to Ceramic Speed, which is like a sort of snake oil brand, if you will. Everyone talks about them in the cycle industry, but nobody uses them in like the aerospace or any of those sorts of industries. They're just sort of a bit of a snake oil thing. They're not as big as like SKF or anything like that. They're just like based out of a shed, and they buy their actual ball bearings. The actual ball bearings that make them up are from SKF. So it's kind of ridiculous that people are paying £1,000 for a bearing when you can just get the same thing for about 40 quid or so for a Ceramic Speed. Yeah, they're a lot more expensive than regular bearings. They'll be about 40 quid for one of these in ceramic form if you wanted it. However, I wouldn't recommend it for a headset because there's a high shock loading part, and you could actually crush and you can damage the ceramic balls. They just shatter. It's unlikely, but it can happen, particularly in wheel bearings and things like that. More on cars or stuff like that, they have ceramic bearings. If you hit a pothole, you can shatter them. That's actually a thing that does happen. Because of course they're not designed for shock loading. They're designed for more high speed, high temperature, that kind of application. That's where ceramic are really, really good. But on a bicycle, you really don't need ceramic bearings. It's just ridiculous. But if you wanted to get some from like SKF or something like that, just because it's a thing, then it's fairly cheap to do so. And you don't have to pay £1,000 for Ceramic Speed or one of those cycle-specific brands to get a fancy bearing. Anyway, more back to the point. This is a headset on a Moorwood. It's a 1.5. They're fairly hard to get, for one. I've not checked the price of this yet. If it's cheap enough, I might just buy another one anyway. But also, I don't like removing them from frames if I have to. It's only a certain amount of times this frame is going to take a headset in and out, and eventually you're going to wear out the cup in the actual frame. So if you can avoid doing that, it's quite handy just to pop the bearings in. I've never had a problem doing that. Unless the bearing's seized and it's been spinning inside the housing, you should be fine. As I said, type that number into the internet and you should be able to get a bearing very easily. Probably on even Amazon if it is a good SKF one, like Next Day on Prime or something like that, for a fraction of the cost of what a new headset is going to cost. Assuming it's a brand name headset you have in the first place. If it's just some Chinesian thing that wasn't very good to begin with, don't bother. Just go buy a new headset. If you have a Hope headset or something like that, or an FSA headset, then get the let's replace the bearings because the cups are still going to be good, unless they're worn out, of course. Anyway, that concludes this video, and by worn out I mean cosmetically, if this bearing is seized. That concludes this video. Hope you liked it. See you later.